Hello and welcome to the Monday Agenda. The Monday Agenda today is talking to Mr. Sanjay, the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank Tanzania, who has just received an award, a global award for Best Leader Bank in the banking sector. And we're really pleased. We'll talk about the awards slightly later on, but now let's understand. So let me welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Austin.
Before we talk about the award, can we first and foremost, you've been the CEO of Standard Chartered, one of the leading banks in Tanzania since 2016, I understand.
Correct.
But you've been working for the bank since 1999. So how has your journey been as Sanjay, climbing up the ladder to the CEO?
So I think my journey, there's no journey in this world that's going to be very smooth. And I think the excitement of having a turbulent journey is that you become very solid as a leader. But I must say that, I sometimes feel that I'm very privileged, particularly being a Tanzanian, because from where where I sit at the moment, thinking about how I've grown. I grew up in Mbeya. I was born in Mbeya.
Okay.
My father is from Zanzibar. I did some of my education in Dar es Salaam. Fortunately, my parents could afford. I could go to India for studies. I came back, and my job has also taken me to 7 different countries actually, working in 3 different continents now. So I should say, the journey has been exciting. It's a journey where I've been exposed, and I can tell you the value of being exposed internationally is just immense. And with the bank 20 years now, and 7 different roles that I've done, so it's been very, very exciting, is what I would say.
Okay.
It's also very fulfilling because I started as, if you just talk about Standard Chartered, as a finance officer.
Okay.
And
Wow.
to come back and be the CEO in my country. Actually, I know that this is being regularly mentioned that after 99 years of the bank being in Tanzania, I'm actually the first Tanzanian CEO to have taken over. So it's exciting, it's challenging because I'm now trying to go and set the benchmark for the future Tanzanians to take over, which is what I would like to happen. Super exciting.
Your team in the bank, how have they been of support to your journey? Just to understand, because we normally have a tendency of when we see someone climbing the ladder, trying either to bring that person down, to discourage that person down. But I understand, as a leader as you are, you always have a word to tell my viewer, that it's as you've rightly said, it's been a bumpy road or a bumpy journey. So how has your team supported you to being who you are today?
I regularly mention this, that as a CEO, the title means Chief Executive Officer.
That's correct.
But I almost feel that I'm the Chief Enabling Officer.
Okay.
And the reason that I say this is that, I am very fortunate to have a leadership team and a team below that has big dreams. That is all very passionate, very dynamic, very purposeful. So what that does to me is that I have to just make sure that I optimize on their potential. So the role I play really in the organization is the Chief Enabling Officer. So I enable each of my leadership members to optimize on their potential. So very dynamic team, very exciting. This is really not for my competition to understand, because I have a very strong team. But it's a team that is committed. It's a team that has heart. It's a team that has mission. And what's more important is that a team that collaborates very well towards bigger purpose and bigger success.
Okay. As part of that, I remember having worked with some of the people who came from Standard Chartered at different senior levels.
Yeah.
I worked as a banker myself at KCB, and I worked with Harry Bomani, who
Correct.
came from Standard
Yes.
Chartered, a marvelous leader he was. But I wish to continue to understand, how do you, in your opinion, having worked for the bank for such a long time, what do you think is, how are we faring as Tanzania in the banking sector? And of course, you being a member, the head of the Bankers Association, and many other that we'll look through shortly.
True. So let me first correct that I'm not. I'm a member of the Bankers Association, and I'm the deputy chair,
Deputy
not the
chair.
chairman.
Yes.
But I'm the chairman of the CEO Roundtable, which is what we will talk about. Your question is how we have fared. But before that, you also touched that you're very excited to have worked under somebody who is ex-Standard Chartered.
That's correct.
So let's start with that because I think that's something that is not well appreciated.
Absolutely.
The Standard Chartered Bank in Tanzania, which will be the case in many markets, is actually the unclaimed university.
Okay.
We are a university of bankers. What does that mean? I mean, if you look at the banking sector today, where we've got close to 55 banks, as per my last count, I think we've now got 8 CEOs who are ex-Standard Chartered,
Okay.
including
All right.
myself.
Okay.
So that is a big statement we make because at any given point of time, between 12 to 20% of the CEOs or leaders in the banking sector are ex-Standard Chartered. And with the number of banks, that is pretty significant. We have a very robust program which enables talent to really grow and flourish, which includes, of course, the local plans, but much more the international context that we bring in. A lot of our staff get exposure internationally. The products that we give out are world class. Any Tanzanian that banks with Standard Chartered Bank is actually banking with the world because we don't leave anybody behind. And that exposure of not only the products, the quality of controls, the quality of service, the quality of leadership that you get even from a risk assessment of your portfolio is just nothing but world class. It can be compared to any other country in the world. So the exposure that the bank gives enables the staff and the individuals to expand. So that is one aspect of our success story. The bank itself is pretty successful. If we just look at from a competitor context, over the last few years we have constantly been ranked number 3.
Okay.
But from an international bank perspective, we have constantly been ranked number 1. So we continue to lead in this market. It's not easy. It's a very, very dynamic and competitive bank. But I think our strategy has really made sure that we continue to meet our ambitions. And our strategy is really, around different pillars. But one of the most important things that the bank does is we are constantly looking at enabling the economy, which means we are very connected to the national priorities. So as a bank, we really leverage on and support the national priorities. Other than that, we are a bank that services a lot of international clients.
Okay.
And we have a lot of international investors. So by nature, that's an area where we have strength.
Okay.
We also support development organizations, NGOs, because we have global presence. And some of these, in terms of trade, we have regularly been globally acclaimed as the biggest trade bank.
Okay.
And with our presence in developing markets like India, China, Dubai, where a lot of trade happens when we look at Tanzania into context, I mean, clearly we are a big enabler of business for a lot of our clients. Then it comes to foreign exchange and, how we enable, whether it is hedging risk on foreign exchange. Again, being a global bank, that is very much part of our experience, part of what we do as a basic. The bank also gives sophisticated products. What does that mean? So, for example, at the moment we're talking about the standard gauge railway.
Yes.
So the bank, as you know, has been mandated to raise financing for the second tranche of the railway.
Okay.
This is a very sophisticated transaction.
It is.
It's not that a Tanzanian bank has done this before. We are the first Tanzanian bank that is going to do that.
Okay.
Similarly, there will be transactions on the oil and gas side. There will be transactions on commodities. We as a bank use our global network and global strength to enable these kind of transactions to happen. So I think that's the exciting aspect that we bring in. Besides this, the evolution that the country has seen is really on technology.
Absolutely.
The bank is a big believer of technology or digital as a means to satisfy our clients, empower our clients. So we have, in essence, 4 or 5 things that we always look at. This is really from feedback from our clients. One is all our clients need convenience. And in this day and age, if I'm going to consistently deliver convenience, then technology is going to be a big enabler. So whether it's on the corporate side of the banking, or on the retail side, we are a huge bank in terms of digital. I would say, as at last count, on the corporate side, 80% of my clients now use technology to enable their business. And then on the retail side, we have two aspects. Of recently, we've launched a digital only bank. As you're talking to me, very happy to tell you that we've now crossed about 14,000 new accounts in the
14,000
last
accounts.
6 months. Yeah,
Okay,
in the last
alright.
6 months.
Wow.
So it's a strategy that we took on board. We were the first bank to drive a digital only bank, and it's had marvelous success. It's shaping the Tanzanian banking experience to another level altogether. So technology is going to be a key part of our strategy.
What drives you, Sanjay? What is that passion in you towards embracing technology, towards embracing diversity, towards you've referred the bank as a global university institution. What is that drive in you? The passion.
So I think number one is I regularly get asked this question. The formal professional answer to this is, I'm a CEO and I have responsibilities or I have opportunities, and I want to optimize on that.
Okay.
But when my daughter recently asked me the same question, I was very thoughtful, and I actually took time to relate to what it really means to me. So, I, as Austin, because we've been sharing messages pretty early in the day sometimes, I wake up very early. The first thing in my mind is to thank God for the privilege I have to impact so many families that work for my bank.
Okay.
So they're connected to my bank. I'm also a very passionate Tanzania, and I think I have, over these last 3 years being back, or 3.5 years being back, have been fortunate that I have quite a few initiatives that I'm part of or I'm leading, which are impacting Tanzania itself. And then, I'm also very actively involved in the accountancy profession. So from a global context, the world is shaping, is transforming at a mega speed. So it's really being able to help the future generation to become fit for purpose and fit for growth, which is very important. So the things that drive me is the opportunity I have to impact so many lives whilst really doing banking business.
Okay.
And optimizing on my personal leadership potential. So for me, it's really the purpose that the job brings into the equation.
Okay.
And I think what Standard Chartered does to me is that personally it connects to my values. As a bank, we are a bank that first embraces purpose and then profit. And it also enables me to participate in many leadership forums. So what drives me is, I told my daughter that if as a child or as when you become an adult, you have the ability to change one life, then you should never waste your time. I'm very fortunate, Austin, that I have the ability to change many lives.
Absolutely.
That is the biggest driving factor for me.
Okay. And the fact that, many people fear change. This could be technological, could be anything. And Standard Chartered, I understand, is the leading another international bank in Tanzania that embraces change. How has that impacted? You've said you've clogged 16,000 accounts within 4 to 6 months.
14,000.
14,000 accounts within 6 months, and you're leading in innovation.
Correct.
The intrusion of mobile banking, the technology here and there. How does this affect the banking sector as a whole in Tanzania?
So I think first of all we must understand that the traditional banking has completely changed.
Good.
There was a lot of belief that the way banking could be delivered is through bricks and mortars. You had to have a branch, you have to have an outfit. The modern day banking is about, like I said, it requires few things. Number one, it requires convenience. Second, it requires trust, which is very important.
Trust.
Third is our client need choices. And fourth is value. So if you want to add all this and you think that if I bring a client to my branch or my office and service him, one is it's not going to be convenient for everybody. Banking with Standard Chartered Bank is always going to be trustful. which is great because we make sure that we manage your risk to the optimal. Number three is, am I going to give them a value proposition? So I will give them banking products, but through innovation, I've been able to give them much more value. So things like lifestyle.
Okay.
At the moment, my mobile app gives you about 70 different services,
Okay.
starting from the basic of banking, which is opening accounts, checkbooks, basic transfers, etc., to utility payments, whether it's mobile payments, Dawasco payments, Tanesco payments, DSTV payments, all these utilities. But what we've also now done is we've given our clients the ability to nurture on our relationships.
Okay.
So, for example, we've brought in lifestyle into it. So, a good example would be if you travel Emirates Airlines using a Standard Chartered card or Standard Chartered account, you actually get more than a 20% discount.
Okay.
Now, you would never get this. So, the bank is now making sure that our clients leverage on our relationships. And as a global bank, we have many relationships. Besides that, Austin, we have, with us being now close to 102 years since we first opened doors in Tanzania,
Yes.
we continue to be recognized as a pioneer bank. So we were the first ones to have brought an ATM, the
Okay.
first ones to bring a debit card in this country, the first one to open a DeFi account, the first one to give corporate internet cards. There's a lot of risk management products we've given. I mean, we could go on, but the bank is, at the moment, you asked about change. The reality is in life, if you don't change, then you will be changed.
Absolutely.
You'll go out. And the only constant in life is change.
Change.
Regularly I meet my staff, and one of the things that I joke about with them is how many of them feel that the world is moving at its fastest pace that they had ever felt. And I tell them, well, if the answer is now we are at your fastest pace, and which is regularly the answer, then I say the good news is, or the bad news is, that we are moving at a completely mad pace.
Okay.
And it's very difficult for us to catch up. The good news is this is the slowest it can get. Tomorrow is going to be faster.
Absolutely.
And faster and faster. So you've got to learn to keep up with change, but also drive change. It's not only just catch up with change, but drive change. So what Standard Chartered Bank is doing is the experiences our clients are getting are nothing but actually the first that the world is getting. In my digital banking, I'd be very proud to say that it is the African continent that first embraced that product.
Okay.
So it was first rolled out in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Secondly, it was rolled out in Uganda, and then third in Tanzania. With Standard Chartered Bank being so big, we were the third country globally to have this product. And now it's expanding. It's now in 8 markets, and it will continue to expand. So innovation starts in any country with Standard Chartered. We just need to, make sure that there is the need.
You are a leader, and many people look up to you. I am one of them. I want to be like you when I grow up, kind of thing. So, do you make time rather to interact with people, especially the younger generation, and probably spare more time to grooming them towards becoming, a successful leader is the one who grooms more leaders who would come over after him. I believe in that. I think it's globally accepted.
True.
Do you make time for other people besides your colleagues and staff within Standard Chartered family?
Somewhere I feel that keeps me young also.
Absolutely.
Young from ideas, young from changes that are happening around me, but also young from, when you are a CEO, and this is, if you look at take Tanzania into context, then there is a model that works in Tanzania where there is a lot of respect. So even though some of my leaders may feel that they could do things differently, but because I have said it, they may not. This is because there is a culture that is prevalent in Tanzania. What I like about the youth is, they don't have any bearings of culture. They say it the way they feel. And that allows me to think differently. And you're never a successful leader if you're not challenged.
Absolutely.
The best way for you to get best outcomes is when you are really challenged well. So I have multiple avenues to get connected to the youth. So one is in the bank we have a country leadership team. which is made out of 40 individuals below my leadership team, and I am fortunate to have a lot of airtime with them.
Okay.
Two is personally as a CEO, I have embraced something which is not very known, but I have something called reverse mentoring. So we've got 8 very dynamic individuals who work in the bank, and once every 2-3 months I meet with them, and the discussion is all about my leadership and what do you want to tell me. So including the decisions I've made, including where they see me, including how they see me on social platforms, the position of the brand of the bank, the products that we have launched. What do they feel that Sanjay is doing wrong or right when it comes to competitor positioning? And you get it pure. The youth give it to you pure. But it's also my time to share my experiences. We are in a very fast-paced, world. The second thing is we are also in a pollution of information. And a lot of youth, go to Google to search information, and sometimes it is right, sometimes it is not. So
Absolutely.
the experience I've had, the best thing I could do is to package it in a way that it fast tracks other youth's ambitions. I would be very happy that today I have somebody working under me who could actually become a CEO and probably become my boss someday. That would give me much more excitement in life than anything else. But I do spend a lot of time. I mentor youth. I go to schools to speak to them. The next thing I'm doing is there is an event happening, the Sahara Spark,
Yes.
where there is a lot of youth involved. So I'm going to be one of the key speakers in
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I regularly speak to I'm an accountant by profession,
All right.
and I'm also the global vice president of the professional accountants in business as part of IFAC, International Federation of Accountants. So I have a lot of opportunities to speak to the youth who are pursuing accountancy as a career.
Yes.
I just love that aspect of spending time with youth because it makes me youthful, as I said.
Absolutely. You are watching the Monday Agenda, and today I'm talking to a leader that you would look at and say, you're seeing all the attributes of a great leader, and you would really want to either work with him, work under him, or get groomed by him. And the Monday Agenda gives you that opportunity now to learn through the program, to learn through this 45 minutes of how this great leader, the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank, Mr. Sanjay, is expressing how he's been to the journey, and we're going to talk about the award. He's been internationally recognized, and we'll talk about that slightly later on. But now, just to understand one other thing, Mr. Sanjay, people would look onto a leader and think they're extra special, like they have a third leg or a third hand or a third eye. Think probably a leader is born in such a family, born with such they found stuff that support them to become great as you are. What do you want to tell my viewers?
I personally can only tell you that I was not born privileged, but with the focus and attention and the support I got, starting from my parents, who have cultivated to who I am, or aspired me to who I am, to the schooling. But it's also much more about personal determination as you grow up.
Yeah.
So I keep telling this to my kids also, that in your world there are different aspects of life that show you the value of life, but you choose your life. So when you grow up, it's your parents and your school and your community and your religion. You're constantly monitoring things and you're feeding them in your brains. Then as you grow up, it's your high school, the area you work, the world. Now it is internet. They're constantly feeding things to you. How you take information into yourself and what you do out of it is a choice you make.
Absolutely.
There is no machine, there is nobody who can drive you but yourself. So I think first of all, if there is a notion that you need to be born in a special family, going through a special life cycle, I personally have met people who have come from very difficult backgrounds, but it's about determination, and they have made it. So I say 3 things. I think first of all in life you need to have a purpose,
Absolutely.
and every person should ask himself, what is their purpose. The second thing that they need to have is passion. Once you have purpose, you need to have passion, which is very important. And three is my third P is progress. So once you have purpose, you have passion, you need to constantly track the progress. It's not going to be happening by accident that you have passion, so it's going to happen. You have to be very defined on your journey. You have to have a plan, and then you have to track progress.
But are you thinking of probably writing a book, a publication, or your own link where people could, learn more? There are people who are not as privileged as the ones in Dar es Salaam. Probably the institutions that you visit and talk to would probably also enjoy reading some of your, missions, how you get to where you are.
True. When I spend time with the youth, one of the feedback I got was, because some of them liked my sharing, and some of them liked my insight. And remember, in my position, I also travel a lot. I meet many people, which means I pick experiences, which if I shared, would be very useful. And that's what you are asking. Now, I don't have time to constantly be talking to the world to share my experience. So, of recently, with the challenges I faced with the youth, I've moved to, putting in some more knowledge into social platforms. So, if you've seen recently, I've gotten a little bit more active on LinkedIn.
Okay. Right.
Clearly also active on Twitter, and that way, I keep connected to a lot of people who I'm very blessed are following me. But much more that my insights have been valuable too. Remember, when it's in social, you make a choice.
Absolutely.
If you find it's interesting and useful, you use it, and that way I probably reach the invisible also. Who I don't see today. So, moving it to writing a book, I think it's a good challenge. I'll take that on board someday.
Great. And Tanzania, from the presidency of John Pombe Magufuli, the fifth regime, is promoting industrialized nation. How is the bank, under your leadership, positioned to support Tanzania's industrialization drive come 2025?
Great. First of all, I think we are a very fortunate country where, we are very blessed with a whole diversity. So our industrialization drive, including moving Tanzania to middle income status, including making sure that we make a lot much more progress and prosperity, is very appropriate, and the bank sees it that way. The bank has a long-term strategy to meet the national aspirations. Recently, and I would say how important this is to us. So over the years, we've been doing that.
Yeah.
And recently, we did a survey on Standard Chartered Bank Tanzania, which kind of concluded that Standard Chartered Bank now contributes to 1.1% of the total 1.2% of the total Tanzanian economy at any given point of time.
All right.
The loans that we give, the businesses that we enable, the structures that we put in place. I told you about the kind of role we play around enabling some of the government priorities. So we are now syndicating funds for the standard gauge railway, tranche 2. The amount of risk we enable our clients and the sovereign to manage more effectively. We are also a bank that is loud globally. We talk to many investors. We are a bank that constantly is being discussed with by international investors, international individuals who create thought leadership within the world. So the bank is constantly and actively engaging those leaders so that they have a real good view about Tanzania. So we are enabling investments into Tanzania as a key part. How are we supporting industrialization? So, you know that the bank, like I said, we are positioned number 3, but number 1 from an international banking context.
Correct.
With our limited network size, we are very big. So if we take you want to be part of a global space. Industrialization is being part of something very big. One is we enable investments to come in. 2 is for all the international trade, which happens to enable industrialization, the bank plays a very significant role. We also, cater to most of the local banks. So we are a bank that is a bank to the banks.
Okay.
So about 60% of all the international payments that happen from Tanzania are actually managed by Standard Chartered.
Wow.
We also collect more than 20% of the total taxes that are paid in the country, which of course enables the government to fulfill their mandate, around infrastructure, which in turn will help the industrialization agenda much more. But that is really from a banking context. What we also do is we drive leadership. So being involved in different forums, whether it's the Tanzania Private Sector Foundation or the CEO Roundtable, or from a bankers association perspective, I'm constantly, and some of my staff are involved in driving policy reforms. We have a lot of exposure from the world, which we can make good use by making sure is also used for Tanzania benefit. Just last week I was in India.
Okay.
I was with the deputy governor for FIU, and a few senior guys. We had also Mr. Dadi, the NPS director from BOT, the FSDT team, and we are looking at transforming financial inclusion in Tanzania.
Okay.
How can we make sure that the last mile ultimately benefits not only from an outreach, but from a utility perspective? And that all is going to be that, if we can enable that, then the industrialization that is taking place will be able to fast track the dissemination of products.
Absolutely.
Industrialization doesn't only mean the industries that produce, factories that produce goods. Industrialization also means that you industrialize, all these last mile opportunities.
Yes.
So as a bank, we are very involved in all those aspects. And remember, internationally, we have been recognized as sharing best practices. So if you have something great that has happened in Singapore or Ghana or South Africa, we have always been forthcoming to share that with the government. So very involved, I would say.
Of many hats that you wear as the CEO of Standard Chartered, chairman of the CEO Roundtable, from the board member of TPSF, you're also in the board of ATE.
Correct.
And many other that I would really appreciate before you answer my question you would mention, so that my viewers could also understand and appreciate that the award was not just given from out of a blue. How are you? You've mentioned as a person, but I wish to now understand, how are you grooming the next generation of leaders? How are you preparing? Because
Sure.
I personally feel that we are challenged in terms of, we do not have personal feeling. We do not have people that we can really, the young people that we can really say, Austin, be prepared. After 2 years, I'm resigning as the CEO of Standard Chartered, you're coming in. So how, with this many hats you're wearing, preparing the Tanzanian generation to embrace the future that is, next door?
True. So I think you've mentioned most of the organizations that I'm part of, and I would just add the Bankers Association that I'm a deputy chair. And I think I'm privileged to and honored to be representing Tanzania in so many good forums. You've actually touched something that is very close to my heart. I think any leader is only good when he creates more leaders.
Absolutely.
It's not only the followers that we create, but the number of leaders that we create, is a great measure of success of any leaders. And as Sanjay, and being part of Standard Chartered, number one, I talked to you about Standard Chartered, its philosophy. For us, it is not a good to have, but it's a must have.
Correct.
We have an active development program. We are constantly making sure that our staff go through learning, through a lot of education, through a lot of sharing, but also leadership programs. These are all group driven. Some of them where we partner with organizations like Oxford, INSEAD. So they are really, really established programs. We also have now a very strong online repository, working with some global, institutions, where a lot of my staff actually can go online, and there is very specialized learning that is given to them. Remember, nowadays we are working with millennials,
Yes.
and the way they take in information is through self-learning.
Absolutely.
So as a bank, we are driving more and more of that. But we also have more collaborative forums in the bank, which means that people from multi units or functions can collaborate and create something very unique. And that's how you learn collaboration. You can benchmark yourself with international standards. So that's about the bank. What at the moment I'm very proud of being part of is really as the chairman of the CEO Roundtable. We are just about to launch. So I think this is a little bit hot off the press, and probably you getting it first. We had a pre-launch engagement session. So it's something called CAP, CEO Apprenticeship Program.
Okay.
The idea is that the CEO Roundtable at a couple of years ago, we did a deep dive on the bigger issues that we want to tackle, and one of them is leadership capability.
Okay.
Our in-depth analysis, working with one of the big fours, indicated that the demand for talent in Tanzania and in many parts of Africa is much more significant. There is also a big demand for local talent. The problem has been the supply has been weak.
Okay.
So what happens in many markets, we bring expats, to be part of our businesses, and we grow. Now that helps. I must tell you that brings progress. But is it the ultimate answer to the challenges that we face? So as the CEO Roundtable leadership team, we sat and we said we must do something out of this. So we've now come up with an initiative called CAP, CEO Apprenticeship Program, whereby we've just started with the first cohort.
Okay.
In the first cohort, we will now be bringing in 20 future leaders, and these are future leaders who have the potential to become CEOs.
Okay.
15 will be from the private sector, and 5 will be from the public sector.
All right.
The program is just being launched.
Okay.
We have got some good champions, including the Prime Minister,
Wow.
who's really helping us to drive this. And we've got a few more ministers. But it's really where we will be. We have now started to, we've chosen the leaders, Tanzanian, and this is really just for Tanzanians. So from various companies, we've had nominations of future Tanzanians. They go through a one-day rigorous review process, whether you're really fit to be part of the program. It's an independent assessment that is done by Strathmore University,
Okay.
who we have partnered with. And basically, the 20 individuals will go through a one-year journey of leadership, where they will be talking to CEOs, they will be going through coaching sessions, they will go through intense learning, they will go through media interviews, meeting some of our political leaders, spending time with the World Banks, IMF, so understanding global context. So I can say a fast-track MBA towards a very senior position, leadership position.
Okay.
And then after they finish their course, they go through a 6 month of a project.
All right.
This project is going to be to enable Tanzania. So, maybe working on the digital agenda for Tanzania, or working with BRELA to say how can we fast track, the whole registration of companies so it enables business much more faster, or probably helping TIC to say how can we make sure that we create investor confidence in a different way,
Absolutely.
marketing Tanzania. So I think that's the excitement. We should be launching that in September,
Okay. All
and you'll be one of the few guys invited.
I look so
to
much
cover
forward to
it.
that. I
Yeah.
look so much forward to that.
So I think multiple ways, I talked to you about my accountancy contribution globally. I'm looking at, being the global vice chair of IFEC PIB. We're looking at how the skills and profession of accounting is changing. So using technology, risk management, how people learn or students learn. So that's a big transformation. Locally, like I said, helping to create more C category leaders. In the bank, transforming leadership itself. I'm very excited because, I'm fortunate to touch many lives.
You are the best leader. The award. Tell us about it.
So I think it's not dawned upon my mind that I'm very special in any way. I think I'm a very normal human being that has been very blessed. When I talk to you about my team, so this award is my team's award. It's not Sanjay's award. It's just that because I am the CEO, probably it's come to me. But it's also an award that speaks to the banking fraternity. There is not every country where a leader from the banking fraternity has been recognized. Remember, these are global awards. So I should say that the contribution on this is really with my other co-CEOs who have helped me to become, effective in the banking sector, because this is relating to banking sector. The thought leadership role that I play, the contribution that I've done in terms of creating a new strategy for the Bankers Association. We did a lot of work, and we can now track progress. But the reality is that I am very excited. Number one, because it's challenging more to do more.
Absolutely.
It's also giving me some more assurance. When you get recognition, you are assured that you're doing
You're
a lot right.
Correct.
But you can only do more better, which is important. It's given me time to look at, I was at the award ceremony and I was looking at all the other individuals who are getting awards and why are they being recognized. So it's given me a little bit more new insight on what new things I can be doing in life to contribute and create bigger impact. But I'm blessed, and that's what I want to say.
Absolutely. With me today was the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank, Mr. Sanjay Rugani, who has been awarded the best leader in the banking sector here in Tanzania, global awards. And, for the past 45 minutes, I've been trying to get into his head to understand his, leadership attribution that, just did not bring the award on the table, but again, many people, even the country, looks at him and says, yes, we need to have this gentleman on our board because of what really Mr. Sanjay puts on the table. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot more you need to look up to when, interacting with him, when, you get across him. Just get a word of advice. And I'm sure with the program that they're starting with as a chairman of the CEO Roundtable, we are really going to see great Tanzanians ready to embrace the future, ready to take the steering wheel and lead Tanzania into the greater heights. I truly thank you so much for your time with the Monday agenda, and I wish you the very best of luck.
Thanks,
on your next
Austin.
endeavor. As you rightly said, when you're awarded, when you're recognized, it means they're calling you to be even better you. And
Correct.
that's my take today, and that's
Austin, maybe a final comment from my
Please.
side is,
Yes.
I shouldn't miss out that one of the things that you need to become a great leader is you need to have a great family backing you.
absolutely
I'm also very blessed that I have a family that challenges me and pushes to make sure that I optimize on my potential. But also, it's a family that believes in bigger purpose, which is beyond the family life we live. So I couldn't be more thankful for that also.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Not to forget, it's really important to remain grounded. Family is everything. They give you that, kick. You can do slightly more higher. You're watching the Monday Agenda, and thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm your host, Austin Makani.